Right now, someone in your life knows exactly where you sit in the social hierarchy. You might think status comes from talent, intelligence, or hard work. It doesn't. In every room you enter, people are making microscopic calculations about you within seconds: who they should respect, who they should ignore, who they can quietly dominate. And the disturbing part is this: the people winning this game almost never look aggressive. They look friendly, relaxed, harmless, but behind the surface they're using signals your brain responds to automatically. Signals most people never even notice. Once you see them, something uncomfortable happens. You realize respect was never just about what you achieve. It's about the invisible game happening underneath everything. And if you don't understand that game, you've been losing it your entire life. You are losing respect, wealth, and relationships every single day. And you don't even know why. You believe people judge you by your merits. That is a lie. Most people never notice this. But there is an invisible architecture to human interaction, and you are being crushed by it. Every conversation, every meeting, every time you walk into a room. There is a game being played, a silent tournament happening beneath the surface of every handshake, every glance, every laugh that lingers a second too long. You thought hard work would be enough. You thought talent speaks for itself. You thought being good at what you do would naturally translate into respect. It doesn't. Here is what actually happens. While you are busy proving your competence, someone else is busy proving their status, and status wins every single time. Watch how this plays out. A man walks into a bar. He spots someone he wants to meet. The amateur approach? Walk straight over. Introduce yourself. Hope for the best. The master does something different. He ignores his target completely. Instead, he strikes up a conversation with someone else nearby. He becomes animated, engaging, magnetic. He laughs. The other person laughs. Energy builds. His real target watches from the corner of their eye. Something shifts in their mind. A question forms. Who is this person that everyone seems drawn to? Only then does he make his move, casually, almost as an afterthought. The game is already won. He never bragged about his accomplishments, never listed his credentials, never tried to convince anyone of his value. He demonstrated it, through association, through visibility, through the subtle art of making others compete for his attention. This is social proof as status currency, and it operates on a level most people never consciously register. You have been told your whole life that confidence comes from within. That authenticity means being yourself, that the right people will recognize your worth. Here is the brutal truth no one wants to admit. Status is not earned. Status is performed, and the performance happens in microseconds, in glances, in the way you position yourself, in who you are seen with, and who is seen waiting for you. The most dangerous players of this game understand this instinctively, and many of them are already in your life, your co-workers, your friends, perhaps even your family. But here is where the trap is set. The rules they play by are invisible to you, until now. That game you just recognized in your social circle? It doesn't stop when you clock in. It follows you. It sits in the conference room. It lurks in every email chain. And here is what makes it dangerous. Your paycheck depends on playing it well, but you have been looking at the wrong scoreboard, the org chart on the wall, the titles on the doors, the hierarchy printed in the company handbook. None of it tells you who actually runs the show. Here is a truth that will change how you see your workplace forever. Real power is never written down. It is performed, negotiated, stolen in moments so subtle you never register them happening. Consider what unfolds in almost every team. There is a manager. They have the title, the credentials, the corner office. On paper, they are in charge. But watch closely. Watch who people look at when a difficult question gets asked. Watch who speaks first in meetings and whose ideas quietly become the team's direction. Watch whose approval people seek before they seek the manager's. That person rarely has a title that matches their influence. The official leader gets the nameplate. The phantom boss gets the compliance. This is the subliminal dominance hierarchy. It operates on an entirely different frequency than the formal structure. While your manager sends calendar invites, someone else is dictating the flow of ideas. While HR updates the reporting lines, someone else is collecting loyalty like currency. The cues are microscopic. Who interrupts whom? Whose jokes land? Who can disagree without consequences? Who controls the energy the moment they enter a room? You feel it. You have always felt it. You just never had words for it. Now think about your own workplace. Really think. Who is the phantom boss in your office? Whose silent approval does everyone wait for before committing to a direction? And here is the question that should unsettle you. Where do you sit in that invisible hierarchy? Because right now, someone is calculating your position. They are watching whether you defer or challenge, whether you lead the silence or fill it nervously, whether you seek validation or grant it. Every interaction is a negotiation, and most people are losing negotiations they do not even know they are in. But here is where it gets darker. The people climbing this invisible ladder, they do not look like climbers. They look helpful, friendly, harmless, and that mask is the most dangerous weapon in the entire game. You think you can spot a manipulator. You are watching for the obvious signs, the lies, the aggression, the person who just feels off. But here is the trap you never saw coming. The most dangerous players in the status game look exactly like everyone else. Their moves are invisible, not because they are hiding them, because their tactics are structurally identical to normal, healthy behavior. Let that sink in. Consider something as simple as playing hard to get. A person takes a while to text back. They decline a date because they are busy. They do not rearrange their entire life around you. Sounds healthy. Self-respect, boundaries, independence. Now watch the dark variant. The manipulator uses the exact same behavior. The delayed texts, the declined invitations, the emotional distance. But the intent is completely different. They are not protecting themselves. They are systematically breaking your will through manufactured rejection. Every time you reach out and hit silence, something inside you cracks. You start working harder, trying more, becoming desperate to avoid another freeze-out. From the outside, these two people look identical. The healthy person and the predator are running the same playbook. The only difference is what is happening behind their eyes. This is what separates the masters from the victims in the status game. The masters understand that unpredictability is not a personality quirk. It is a weapon. When someone cannot predict your responses, they cannot calibrate their behavior. They stay off balance, anxious, eager to please. History proves this works at the highest levels. Leaders who kept their inner circles guessing maintained absolute loyalty. Not through reward, through the constant threat of withdrawal. Think about that person who runs hot and cold. One day they are warm, attentive, making you feel like the center of their universe. The next day, ice. No explanation, no obvious trigger. You have been trained to blame yourself, to search for what you did wrong, to modify your behavior, hoping to bring back the warmth. That is not a relationship. That is conditioning. And the most chilling part, you cannot call it out, because every individual behavior looks innocent, normal, even admirable. Stop and realize what this actually means for your future. Every interaction you thought was harmless might need a second look. That friend who keeps you guessing, that partner whose affection feels like a reward system. But here is where the trap is set even deeper, because manipulation is not just about what others do to you. Now take a breath, because what comes next changes everything you think you know about control. George Simon spent decades studying manipulation. not the obvious kind, not threats or violence, the invisible kind, the kind that leaves no fingerprints. Here is what he discovered. The ultimate victory in any status game is not making someone submit. Anyone with enough force can do that. The real victory, the one that creates lasting power, is making you believe you chose to submit, of your own free will. Think about that. Really let it sit. When someone forces you to do something, resentment builds. Resistance grows. The relationship has an expiration date. But when you believe the decision was yours, you defend it, you rationalize it, you become your own jailer. Here is how it works. The manipulator presents you with options. 2 paths, maybe 3. You weigh them carefully. You analyze the pros and cons, you make your choice, and you feel autonomous, in control. But here is what you missed. The manipulator designed every option on that menu. They controlled the frame before you even started thinking. Your freedom existed only within boundaries they set. You chose exactly what they wanted you to choose, and you will fight anyone who suggests otherwise. Watch how this scales beyond personal relationships. Advertisers do not tell you to buy their product. They present lifestyle options where their product appears in every single one. Politicians do not demand your vote. They frame the debate so their position seems like the only reasonable conclusion. The mechanism is identical, only the scale changes. You scroll through streaming services, feeling overwhelmed by choice. But every option was curated by an algorithm designed to maximize your engagement. Your autonomy is performed, not real. This is why arguing with someone rarely changes their mind. They did not arrive at their position through pure logic. They were guided there through carefully constructed choices, and now their identity is invested in defending a decision they believe was freely made. The trap is elegant, almost beautiful in its cruelty. But here is where most people make a fatal mistake when they first understand this. They try to fight back using the same weapons. They think awareness equals immunity. It does not. And that miscalculation is exactly what we need to examine next. You have been taught something your entire life, something that feels so obvious it must be true. You believe that if you want people to know you are successful, you tell them. You drop hints about your income. You mention your connections. You make sure everyone knows exactly how important you are. This is the fastest way to lose. The moment you announce your status, you have revealed something far more damaging than whatever success you were trying to broadcast. You have shown everyone in the room that you need their validation. You have exposed a hunger, a desperation, and desperation is the ultimate loser's tell. Think about the last time someone cornered you at a party and would not stop talking about their promotion, their new car, their vacation home. Remember that feeling in your gut, that instinctive recoil? That was not jealousy. That was your subconscious registering their low rank in the hierarchy. Because true power never explains itself. History proves this with brutal clarity. Consider what happened to the newly wealthy industrialists of the Gilded Age. They built the largest mansions, threw the most extravagant parties, wore their fortunes on their sleeves, and old money families looked at them with barely concealed contempt, called them vulgar, shut them out of the rooms that actually mattered. The desperate display of wealth became the very barrier to the status they craved. Here is the paradox that governs everything. The person who has to announce their importance has already surrendered the frame. They have handed control to their audience. They have made their self-worth dependent on a reaction they cannot guarantee. The masters of the subliminal dominance hierarchy understand something different. They use the void. Silence is not empty. Silence is a canvas. When you refuse to fill it with desperate claims about yourself, you force others to project onto you. Their imagination does the work. Their uncertainty becomes your power. They assume you must be important precisely because you never said you were. This is why the truly powerful speak less, explain less, justify nothing. You will catch the shift once you start looking. The person dominating any room is rarely the loudest. They are the one everyone else keeps glancing toward, waiting for a reaction, seeking approval they will never directly ask for. But here is where the trap is set. Because there are those who have mastered this void so completely, they do not just gain status, they rewrite reality itself. The real prize is not status. It is something far more dangerous. It is the power to define what is true. Whoever controls the story controls reality. And right now, people around you are rewriting it every single day. You just do not see it happening. Consider what happens in a classroom. A student fails a test. They did not study. The grade reflects exactly what they earned. But watch what happens next. When they tell the story, the core truth stays intact. Yes, they got a bad grade. That part is real. But suddenly, new details emerge. The teacher has always had it out for them. The grading was unfair. The questions were never covered in class. The failure transforms. It is no longer evidence of their shortcoming. It is proof of their persecution. They have become the hero of their own injustice. This is fabrication disguised as conversation. And it is happening constantly. The person is not lying outright. They are doing something more sophisticated. They are taking a kernel of truth and wrapping it in manufactured context, stealing social currency while appearing to simply share their experience. You have seen this. You have probably done this. And here is the part that should unsettle you. How many times has your perception of someone been shaped by their strategic retelling? How many villains in your mind were created by someone else's narrative engineering? That co-worker you distrust, that family member you avoid, that friend who warned you about someone else. Were you given reality, or were you given a constructed version designed to serve someone's status game? This is the existential threat. You cannot fully trust your own map of the world, because other people have been drawing on it without your permission. The student who failed that test did not just protect their ego. They stole something from the teacher's reputation. They borrowed credibility from the idea of systemic unfairness. They extracted sympathy that belonged to actual victims, all through a casual conversation that felt completely normal. And this brings us to a truth that most people are too afraid to see. You cannot opt out of this game. There is no neutral ground. Every moment, reality is being defined. The only question is whether you are holding the pen, or whether someone else is writing your story for you. You started this journey blind. Now you see. Every room you walk into, every conversation you have, every meeting, every dinner, every casual exchange. The game is there. It was always there. The difference now is, you can feel it. That subtle shift when someone leans back in their chair. The micro pause before a response. The way eyes track toward the person who actually holds power, not the one with the title. You catch these signals now. They were invisible before. They will never be invisible again. This is the transformation. You now carry a lens that most people will never acquire. Not because the information is hidden, but because they refuse to look. They prefer the comfortable lie that human interaction is simple. That respect is earned through merit alone. That the best ideas win. You know better now. The game exists on a spectrum. The socially anxious teenager playing it unconsciously. The middle manager maneuvering for recognition. The billionaire orchestrating perception on a global scale. Same game, different stakes. The only variable that matters is awareness. Blind participation makes you a pawn. Conscious mastery makes you a player. Picture yourself walking into your next high-stakes room. A job interview, a negotiation. A room full of strangers where alliances form in seconds. You will read the hierarchy before anyone speaks. You will notice who defers to whom. You will see the dominance cues, the space someone takes, the interruptions they allow themselves, the strategic vulnerability that signals supreme confidence, and you will choose your position deliberately. This is quiet power, not the loud, desperate kind that announces itself, the kind that operates beneath the surface, the kind that shapes outcomes without ever revealing its hand. Here is the truth you carry forward. The most powerful people on this planet are playing this game on you right now, through media, through institutions, through carefully constructed narratives that position you exactly where they need you. They understand status mechanics at a level most people cannot comprehend, and they deploy that understanding every single day. The question is no longer whether the game exists. The question is whether you will play it consciously, or remain a piece on someone else's board. There is no going back to the comfortable blindness you once had. The only path forward is mastery. And now, you have everything you need to begin.